Now, earlier today, the Family Research Council released a report showing that physical attacks on America's churches have increased by almost 300% in 2022 versus 4 years ago in 2018. Now, the report documents 137 attacks this year already, and the year's not even over. Now, these incidents include vandalism, arson, gun-related incidents, bomb threats, and more. Now, this increase in religious hostility, quite frankly, should not be taken lightly and must be condemned. Now, we shouldn't be surprised, though, as we see an administration that, quite frankly, is ignoring what we've seen just in the last 6 months. Well, joining me now to discuss this is a pastor whose own church was vandalized with satanic imagery when he spoke out against a drag queen story hour for children at a public library. Pastor Amado Huizar of South Bay Pentecostal Church in Chula Vista, California. Pastor Amado, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you for having me, Tony. It's good to be back with you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Your church was vandalized with this satanic imagery. Now, the number of attacks has only increased since yours. Yours was actually one of the first. And based on your experience, what would you say to other pastors and congregations?
Well, it's really important to be vigilant. I think for a long time, we've been privileged to have the freedoms to worship freely, to go to our houses of worship and really not worry about vandalism or even worry about going to the house of God and then walking out and facing any type of ridicule or any safety concerns. Well, now that's all changed dramatically. And so since then, we have had to stand up. We have had to look at some security measures and have had put a plan in place to be able to protect our congregants, and that's important. And since then, Tony, sadly, we have had over 15 other incidents attacking our church. And even today, I'm not surprised anymore. We're dealing with this, and with our administration, recently, even this week, bringing in drag queens to the White House. They don't belong anywhere. We got to continue to stand up, and I am just appalled by where we're headed. And so churches need to be vigilant. I am urging every church leader to no longer sit on your laurels, no longer just sit back and wait. We need to be vigilant and protect the house of God.
And that means proclaiming truth and speaking the word of God, not only to those that are sitting in our pews, but as pastors, we need to be proclaiming that truth to our communities, which we should take as a responsibility to shepherd and to pastor. The motives behind this are quite clear. It is designed to silence and intimidate. And you spoke out against this, what we would call sexualizing and abusing our children by doing these drag queen story hours to toddlers. You spoke out. Church was attacked. It was designed to silence you, but you haven't been silenced.
No, sir, we have not. And really, it has not stopped us. We are going to continue to stand up and to speak out. It's our God-given mandate to do so. We have children, we have families, we have people that are voiceless, and we are called to be the shepherds. We are the watchmen on the walls to speak out. And really, now is not the time to back down. Now is the time for us to stand on the word of God. And I'm thankful, Tony, for your contributions daily, your devotions that remind us to continue to be outspoken on the word, with the word of God, to declare the truth. And now time is of the essence.
As you have boldly spoken out the word of God, and it's something you've been doing. I mean, it's what most pastors used to do, and what most pastors is what pastors should be doing. It's just simply preaching the word of God and challenging their people to do the work of the ministry. That means living out our faith in such a way that it speaks to others about the hope that's within us and why we live differently and the peace that we have, all of those things. How has this impacted your church? Has this drawn more people in because they have seen there's hope here? There's something different here. This is not a church that's going to shrink back in the face of intimidation.
Absolutely. We have seen people come to visit our church and even have become members of our church because they have realized that we are not just four walls and we're just singing our songs and then going home, having programs and then going home, but we are standing on who we are. We are apostolic, just like they were in the days of the apostles, and we are not going to go back. We're not going to stray away from that. And so really it has caused others to join forces with us. And other churches, Tony, I'm so thankful that other churches have risen from the ranks, and they say, you know what, we're going to join forces with you. And churches throughout have come out and reached out and they said, thank you for speaking out, because it's given us courage and it's given us hope. And that is the desire. That is the hope that other churches can stand up and we can just see the United States have a revival of strong churches in our land.
Final question for you, Pastor Amado. The administration has, they've done nothing. As we have seen, hundreds of over 100 attacks on pro-life organizations and churches in the wake of the Dobbs decision. No prosecutions, but the Washington Times, reporting on our report, reached out to the White House for a response to our report, and they said that, quote, President Biden has pledged to do everything in his power to protect congregations. Nice words. I don't see the action. If you had the opportunity, what would you say to President Biden?
Really, his words have not matched up to a lot of action. And so what I would want to see is written legislation, something that is going to be written that is going to protect us. And right now, the only thing protecting us are the Supreme Court justices. And I'm thankful for the previous administration putting in some justices that for the time being will preserve any religious freedoms that we have. And so that's what I would really ask of our current administration and our current legislators, to put something in writing that protects us. And that's the biggest fear that we have right now.
Yeah, but they're doing the opposite when they're pushing legislation that celebrates transgenderism, and as you mentioned, having an event at the White House where they signed the Disrespect for Marriage Act, and they had drag queens there. That pits you against the president. The president welcomes drag queens. You say they shouldn't be reading books to children. That makes you the bad guy. So their actions actually are working to endanger churches and those who hold to a biblical view of human sexuality. Pastor Amado, I want to thank you for joining us. Always great to see you. Thank you for standing strong on the Word of God.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate all that you do.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless.